we recap all the action from the eNASCAR Clash at the Coliseum. We talk to eNASCAR team owner and analyst Steve Latarte. And we take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Countdown to Green for the start of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing season. It's a brand new year starting tonight. I'm Alan Cavana, filling in for Camille. My boy Blake McCandless is joining us. Blake, it's just you and me tonight. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Alan. Again, we'll miss Camille. We look forward to seeing her back here in a couple weeks' time. But there's so much optimism, isn't there always, Alan? I mean, Daytona's right around the corner in real life, but also for this series, there is a sense of optimism that lingers in the air on a track like tonight where anybody truly can go out there and win. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time tonight.
We always have to think about getting that trophy, but that trophy generally means a playoff spot. You can secure your spot at a potential title shot just tonight. It's hard not to think about that if you're one of these drivers out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about Femi Olot last year. He got to cruise, not cruise because you still have to maintain your top 20 spot in the points, but it changes the outcourse of your season. You can go to victory lane tonight, not have to worry or so about the next 12 or 13 races or so. So a big opportunity for anybody in this field to get 2023 started on the right note.
Yeah, so happy to be here. And tonight is the start of the points season. Of course, just a few weeks ago, we were out at the virtual LA Coliseum for the Clash, and the season started in a very familiar way compared to how it ended last season. Let's check it out.
And in heat race number one, the two-car early advantage for Vincent. These drivers want to be able to finish in the top 5 in this heat race. That's the key to advance directly to tonight's feature race. Garrett Lowe gonna win the first heat of the afternoon. Green flag in the air. We're racing in the second heat already. There's contact. Bias gets turned off the nose of Derek Justice. Off of the race leader, Ryan Luza has led this one flag to flag so far with now 5 laps to go, now 4. The battle for 5th to the line, and as they wreck across the finish, it is Matt Busa. Top 7 is the objective if you want to qualify into the feature here in LA. Green flag in the air. It's a great jump for White. There's a bump and run from Ottinger. Keister now going to pay it right back. This is the battle for the transfer with 3 laps to go. Keister a second shot now to the 25. As we say, let's go feature racing in the Clash. Maybe an opening here as Casey Kerwin going to go down to the inside, and we are fighting for the race lead. Garrett Lowe has led 37 laps so far, but right there is lap lead number 1 for Casey Kerwin. That's 1 lap to go here in Los Angeles. We talked so much about what the story for him was last season, opening the campaign with a trip to victory lane in the Clash and bookending with a championship, and Casey Kerwin will start 2023 in identical fashion. He is undefeated in the LA Coliseum.
Coliseum, of course, he's last year's champion. He's still winning. Blake, what'd you think of what we saw out the Coliseum?
It was an interesting race, to say the least. There was a lot going on, a lot of chaos, a lot of controversy. But the one thing I kind of think about it is that nothing really carries over from that. Playtime is over. These guys got to go out. They got to have a lot of fun. I mean, heck, we saw Nick Ottinger and Colin Keister there get into something where they're right rearing each other in the corners. Well, guess what? I don't think any of that carries over. We listened to Actions Detrimental from Denny Hamlin last week, which, by the way, great new podcast out at Dirty Mo Media. He talked about even in real life, there was so much chaos going on. You didn't even know who to be mad at when you got out of the car. I think that's largely the same carrying over from this race, that not much thought is going to go into what happened last week. It is all about eyes forward. This is when the pay window opens, so to speak, Alan.
Yeah, you were looking in the back of the field or throughout the field. I was looking out front because there wasn't too much chaos for our boy Casey Kerwin in that 95. And it just reminded me of the patience that he had, what it took to get him that championship victory last year in Phoenix. You need that same kind of patience on a short track like the LA Coliseum, where, you have to lay a bumper or so, but he's not making any enemies either. So the same patience I saw when he had to win a title is the same patience I saw him start this season off at that exhibition race out at the LA Coliseum. We'll see what he has tonight at Daytona. But hey, trophy's a trophy, points or not. It's a good way to start the season off with a victory out in LA. Talking about, though, the point season this year, let's look at the schedule. Of course, we were at the Clash. Daytona is what we start out tonight. Blake, there are some unique tracks out on this schedule this year. What stands out to you when we're looking at the 2023 schedule?
I think it has to be where we're going in 2 weeks' time, and that is the Milwaukee Mile. This is, personally, I love these long, really flat tracks, New Hampshire, and even if you're thinking back to the old Papyrus days, a flat homestead before they added the banking there. It's just always been a personal favorite of mine. This is a tough track that really challenges drivers. You have to go out and execute, and just brings back memories of watching Casey Atwood and Randy LaJoy going to Victory Lane in the late 90s here in the old Xfinity series, and watching some of those races. We're getting that back in NASCAR, and I think it's fitting that we get to bring this track into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series space as well.
You're a young man, Blake. I love all the old school references. Papyrus. That's a good one. Yeah. Well, anyway, you mentioned you mentioned Milwaukee. I'm sorry. I love that they're ending the season in Homestead. Think about how many years the Cup Series, all of NASCAR, ended the year and crowned champions at Homestead. That's because it's a driver's racetrack. It's got multiple groups, multiple options, tire wear matters, everything that you can appreciate, that drivers appreciate out of other drivers in terms of skill. That is all used at Homestead. So to use that track as the one that crowns a champion this year, I couldn't think of a more perfect spot, whether it's Sunday for Cup or it's for the, here in the eNASCAR series. That's going to be a heck of a championship race. I can't wait for that. So a very, very diverse schedule. Looking forward to that. So we saw some change up in the schedule this year. Of course, we see some change up in the driver lineups for some of these teams and who will be competing tonight. Let's look at one of the teams, Latarte Esports, and hear from their two drivers and what they expect out of the year.
My name is Dylan Alt. I'm from Sacramento, California, and I'm driving for Latarte Esports. Yeah, in 2021 contender, I did really good. I had 2 wins off field strategy, but in 2022 contender series, I was not that great in qualifying, so I kind of struggled in there, but ended up in the races. I was gaining spots in every race, and ended up getting in the top 20. So it was good. I don't think I was nervous at all. I'm pretty good at driving the contender car, so I was very confident that I was going to get back in the top 20. So I'm not really as nervous as I was last year making Coke. If I won the 2023 Coke Series, I would probably save enough, and hopefully later on I would probably buy a house or something, buy a car at new tracks that people don't really have skills at or not that much practice. I feel like I can adapt very fast. My favorite memory of just winning that contender race, that one at Dover, it was surreal. It was a surreal moment.
My name is Brandon McKissick, and I'm from Jupiter, Florida, and I drive for Latarte Esports. I thought it would be a good opportunity to work with Dylan Alt, and I thought it would be the best fit for me, especially driving a Chevy and working with Steve Latarte, who worked with Hendrick, which was my favorite team as a kid. I just thought it was the best fit for me this season. In my third season in RTP, I was essentially one of the most experienced in the series, just having 2 years under my belt and just genuinely knowing what to do. So honestly, performing in that series started to become a bit automatic for me. Being my second year in Contender this year, I definitely learned several things to do different, and I think while it is always a challenge, it definitely became easier to perform better, just knowing how to race different people and just how to make more aggressive moves. As a newcomer in this series, I definitely think I could be a champion one day. It may not happen my first or second year. You just have to work the hardest you can and just finish the best you can. I wouldn't try to force myself in any situation or stick my nose somewhere it doesn't belong just to get a result, but I definitely would try to do the best I can. Starting off with a win at Daytona would definitely make my life easier throughout the entire season. It would allow me to focus on consistency and learning and trying things that do and don't work, while also knowing that if I perform well enough, I would have a shot at the playoffs in my first season. The track I have circled on the calendar is definitely Michigan, because I've been good at that track for years on the sim, and I just genuinely know what to look for to be fast there. As a rookie, it can definitely help just knowing what to look for going into that weekend to achieve the best result I can. Being one of the Final Four at Homestead would honestly be a dream come true to me. Definitely my top goal throughout this season would be to at least achieve that. The experience that you get from just simply being on stage racing and the Final Four is unmatched. And putting yourself in that kind of position, you can handle any pressure in the series, I feel like, after that opportunity, because you're just so used to just the highest stakes you can possibly have. And preparing for a race that's that significant just benefits you greatly throughout any season, throughout any race.
And there you have it, the team at Latarte Esports. Always nice to see hard work paying off from the Contender Series and getting up here to the big show. We'll hear from Steve Latarte in just a few minutes. But Blake, there are some other big items, big headlines, big storylines as we look at 2023. What's on your mind when you think of this brand new year?
The one thing that really sticks out to me, Alan, is all of the new organizations that we have that are starting to make their presence felt in eNASCAR space. Think of FGR Excel, Front Row Motorsports, and in particular, some of the esports organizations that have decided to join the Coke Series this year. Kansas City Pioneers, the Pittsburgh Knights are a part of the series as well. Even Tony Kanaan Esports, that's an exciting name to be attached to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So I'm really excited to see what these new organizations bring and the type of approach they have with their new drivers.
I'd love to see Tony Kanaan involved in this and how much he loves to do iRacing as well. But Blake, I'm thinking about the shakeup at 2311 Racing because they are a championship organization, as we know, with Keegan Leahy, but Mitchell DeYoung no longer on the team. He's been replaced. He's now Michael Guest is the partner over there at 2311 Racing. That's a big deal because look, Michael Guest has 92 starts in this series, no victories. And to me, that's a big deal because Mitchell DeYoung was so good and so skilled at the road courses. To me, it was almost like a guaranteed win. And if you have a guaranteed win, a guaranteed playoff spot every year. So 2311, we know they have the former champion Keegan Leahy, but on the other end, Michael Guest has some work to do. I'm confident he can do that, but Mitchell DeYoung, a big loss. What else are you thinking about, Blake?
Alan, I also have to think about the fact it's Daytona. We have a new crop of drivers that have coming in. I know we heard from Brandon McKissick, who's brand new to this series as well, but we have so many great rookies and so many diverse backgrounds for these drivers, some of who have been knocking at the door, like Jordy Lopez Jr. for a number of years to try and make it to this top level. Tucker Minter, Brandon McKissick we talked about earlier as well, and even not so many rookies, but veterans who are making a return to the series. Guys like Joey Brown, Kevin King, Ryan Doucette, who have had brief hiatuses that are making their way back into the series. But perhaps as much as ever, there is a diverse set of rookies here that I think will excite our fans, and some new guys will be able to earn some fans in this season by running well.
Oh, yeah. It's great to have a nice crop of rookies, but I have to tell you about one of the veterans, and I hate to call him an old veteran, if you will, but he's still a young man. But Michael Conti, veteran of the series, he's announced it is his last year in the Coke Series. He is pulling a Harvick. Michael Conti will retire after this season. Big loss. Dale Jr. wants him back on Junior Motorsports, hates to lose him there, but we're talking about a former champ, 13 career wins. Hopefully he can go out on a high note, and he's got a great hashtag to go along with it. You can see him there looking at the trophy. He wants it again, but one more go around for Michael Conti. That is a big thing to think about as we race all these races throughout the year, because he's just meant so much to this series and has so much success on the record books. But as I said, he's pulling a Harvick, Blake.
I guess he is pulling a Harvick in some ways. And, you know, one of the other big headlines, and I don't think we can go any further without mentioning this, Alan, is the fact that there have been 227 races that have scored points in this series, and 226 of them have involved this guy right here, the GOAT, Ray Alfalla, our 4-time champion, the first time that we will see eNASCAR competition without him behind the wheel. It is really a loss for this series, and one of the most recognizable names outside of this space, or in this space in particular. So it is a tough loss for Ray Alfalla, but that is just how competitive it is to try and stay in this series now.
The best part is we know he could always try to make a comeback. So come on back, Ray.
Yes.
We'll see you. Maybe we'll see you again. But Blake, the best news maybe is that we get to do this all again in terms of crowning a champion live. Once again, we will do it at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. That was the coolest event to be involved with last year, seeing the 4 competitors with their families live, you know, competing right in front of us, where they had our voices in their ears, they could hear us, the pressure that they had to go through, the marching bands, everything that they rolled out to make that such a big event to crown a champion. It was so memorable for Casey Kerwin, memorable for all of us to be involved in. Dale Jr. was there to present the trophy. We're going to do it all again in September. Again, they're racing Homestead this time, but we get to be there again at the Hall of Fame. That was such a cool deal, Blake.
It really was. And again, I think there's so much more that's going to be able to come up this year in terms of storylines, in terms of drivers who are really going to make that type of impact.
Yeah, maybe it will be 1 or 2 of the drivers from Latarte Esports. We heard from those drivers earlier. Let's hear from the owner of Latarte Esports. You know him as Steve Latarte.
Dylan was a great driver to have last year. He represented the partners great. He represented the team great. I thought his effort was commendable on the racetrack. I think he would admit that the Coke Series is very, very tough. It's the top. It's the best of the best. They show it each and every race, and I'm really looking forward to year 2. I think he's going to do a great job. And then Brandon's going to be a new addition, but Dylan and Brandon are good friends off the racetrack. I think that's going to help their camaraderie and working together on the racetrack. And the biggest thing is that we just continue to improve. It's a long season, and it's just easy to get behind if you panic too early. Every time I see the new schedule or we talk about the new year for eNASCAR, you always wonder what's going to change. And last year, the in-person finale was an absolute home run. First of all, it showcases the 4 drivers that were talented and fortunate enough to make it into that championship position, bring them to Charlotte, the Hall of Fame, kind of the hub of NASCAR, put them in front of a live audience. I was fortunate enough to call that race, and it was great to see their performance. But for me, I think it was the families, right? There's so much effort and support behind these drivers, and to see the families throughout the crowd cheer on their drivers, it was quite special. And I think last year was a home run, but it has potential to be huge, right? If you are a race fan, if you are a NASCAR fan, there's so much going on in Charlotte and the surrounding areas that week. I would suggest anybody to come in person, check out the Hall of Fame, see the finale in person. It was just a great event. I think what iRacing and this eNASCAR series can do is it can kind of be a little bit of a precursor, go to places that we haven't seen Cup cars before. Also a little bit of a throwback. We saw the success at North Wilkesboro, and it is now bringing the All-Star race there for the NASCAR Cup Series. So why not go back to the Milwaukee Mile? I've tested at the Milwaukee Mile, 20 or 30 times in my life to get ready for New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So to see stock cars back on the Milwaukee Mile, I think it's going to be a great throwback. And I actually think they're going to have more of an identity and perhaps a little bit more curiosity from the fans. So I think it's a great schedule. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Listen, I'm a team owner, but in the end, I'm a race fan as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun to tune in and see all those tracks. iRacing allows everyone in the world to experience motorsports. And I think that's something that we can't take for granted. If you're fortunate enough to live near a local short track or a go-kart track or drag strip, whatever it may be, then you may be lucky enough to have that opportunity to see it or experience in person. But what iRacing does is it really makes the the reach of motorsport's endless. Now anyone, anywhere has the opportunity to compete, and it can be in a club level, it can be in an open race, and that's really where I think the eNASCAR series is so important. I think for anyone to compete in anything, there has to be something. There has to be kind of a beacon, right? If you're a stock car driver, a late model driver in the country, you may want to take the green flag in the Daytona 500. Well, if you are a young boy or girl, man or woman who is trying to learn this world of iRacing, you can look at the eNASCAR, and there's a laid out tier. There's a pathway to get there. It just takes time, effort, and unfortunately talent. If it was just time and effort, I'd have a chance. But I just don't have the talent to keep up.
Steve Latarte's done so much winning on Sundays, trying to keep that going here in the Coke Series, and good luck to them and his drivers. But Blake, it is time for our favorite segment, and Camille's favorite segment. Again, she'll be back next week from Logitech. It's Tweet Your Rigs. Check this out, Blake.
All right, we got golly, man, the gaming setup is almost as good, if not better, than the sim racing setup right there. I mean, that's 4 different monitors. I didn't even know that's possible almost.
Yeah, look at this real world setup with the seat, the wraparounds. I love this, Tyler Maxton. That's really nice. Look at that. Oh, the steering wheel. Look at the lights up. Woo! Love that one.
That's really fancy right there from Tyler. We got our friend Joe Peak right there. He's got a used tire right there, along with the old tried and true, old reliable G29 right there.
Something old, something new. All right, I like this desktop setup from Ian. 3 monitors again, and I think a 4th one up there, and some nice art on the wall. Very, very tight up and classy there.
Yeah, that's a lot of Discord on the right side. Oh man, so not exactly the rig, but hey, not everybody on iRacing is using a steering wheel and pedals. You can use a PlayStation controller, like our friend Matt's got right here.
I didn't even know that. Maybe I'll get in on this now. I'll get my controller out there. I still got N64 though. I got N64 controlled up.
All right, we got to get you hooked up there, Alan. But right here, Butler Esports having their own setup in their own esports facility right there on campus. So that is that's pretty cool. And of course, Wyatt, a competitor in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. So nice support there. Even got the jersey there for Butler.
Yeah, I demand to see the Bulldog, Butler Bulldogs. I want to see the dog in there sometime. But hey, thanks for all these pictures. Tweet at us using hashtag eNASCAR. Tag both NASCAR and iRacing. We want to see your rigs because Logitech, they put on a good segment here because we love seeing the rigs out there. So, Blake, we're going to Daytona. I mean, no matter if it's on Sundays, if it's here in the Coke Series, Daytona is the place you want to win, and the drivers know it. Here's what the drivers are saying about tonight's race at Daytona International Speedway.
Starting the season off with the win at Daytona is normally my #1 goal every year.
The world. That's probably the one sim race that I haven't won that means a good bit.
It's just Daytona, right? So everyone wants to win at Daytona, virtual or real.
Obviously, Daytona would mean a lot just because it's such a big race and we have so many viewers, and it's Daytona. Who doesn't want to win there, right?
Daytona's always been special to me. Obviously, it's the biggest race of the year. And then also, I've won there in the past too, so it's always great to repeat a win.
I've been pretty close a couple times in my short career in the Coke Series, and I really want to get it done. Hopefully, I think this year will be a really good year for us.
Winning that race would mean a lot, and it also means that you're probably going to be in the playoffs. So what a better way to start the season than by winning.
If I don't win Daytona, then I only have 2 more chances to win a race. So we get that right out of the way early. That would be pretty special.
So winning the season opener at Daytona, I did it actually back in 2016. So I kind of know what that's like.
The win in Daytona kind of gave me validation that I belong in the series, and it was kind of a culmination of all the hard work that went into the sim over the years. Repeating at Daytona is not going to be an easy feat. It's going to come down to a lot of luck and being in the right place at the right time, but I've already done it once, so there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to do it again.
I mean, it's Daytona, it don't matter.
I know.
And we're going to take a look right here at the Daytona International Speedway, and the World Center of Racing has been A dazzling fan since 1959. As you can take a look at the high banks here, 31 degrees of banking in both ends of this racetrack here at Daytona. Of course, our 2022 winner is Femi Olat, and this is somewhat how it looked from the vantage point of his race car. You really get to see how much banking there is here at Daytona, why these cars are able to carry so much speed around these corners. You can see all of that lean right there, 31 degrees of banking, a surface that was paved back in 2011, and it started to show a little bit of signs of aging here, Alan. But the one thing that I think is most difficult for these drivers isn't necessarily this racetrack. It is racing in a pack, and you can see exactly why. The time difference in being locked in with somebody is so difficult. And you can take a look right here at Michael Conti and Jimmy Mullis, who will be competing later tonight. It's not as simple as just getting in line and staying in the draft. When you're working this two-car tandem, you're upsetting the car in front of you. You're having to try to stay locked in. Just a little bit of a mistake by a couple of inches can cause a wreck. And not only that, Alan, this is with two race cars out there. There's going to be 40, 2, 3, sometimes 4 wide. It is very, very difficult. Not as easy quite as it looks, especially with all the aerodynamic and physics updates that iRacing has to try to make these cars as close to the real thing as possible.
To put it mildly, not as easy as it looks. Believe me, I have tried. That's why they are professionals, Blake. But they're trying to win. We're trying to win the season-long competition. And I'll be honest, I was a newbie last year. I got off to a bad start. So we're going to start with our season-long win picks. It starts tonight. Blake, who wins tonight?
All right, well, I get to join the fray for the first time this year, but it's simple. There are two drivers who have won in their first ever start in this series, Derek Bordeaux and Dale Earnhardt Jr. I say tonight we add a third to it. I'm going to take the man out of Hagerstown, Maryland, Michael Cozy Jr. They're going to be saying hi ye by the end of this one. I'm taking Cozy to win tonight.
Blake, that is music to my ears, because late this afternoon I did a little research and I made a switch. And guess who I'm picking? From Hagerstown, Maryland, Michael Cozy Jr. Oh, I feel so much smarter now and better about my pick that we are both in the same boat. So look at that mustache. That's a winning mustache right there. Now, Blake, you're also going to reveal Camille's pick, because this is season long. So she put her pick in. Who is she picking tonight?
Well, she's not picking Cozy, so we're not going 3 for 3 here tonight, but she is also looking for a first-time winner in the series, but not a rookie. It is Garrett Maines, a new number for him, number 12 for FGR Excel, and Garrett Maines is who Camille is going to go with tonight to get his first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series victory. And boys, 3 first-time potential winners in this series. I think that's what Daytona's all about.
I like it. Look, Garrett, I wish you limited success tonight, because I really want to start off well in this series standings. Camille ran away with it last year, Blake, so I had no shot after a while, but I think I'm in good company tonight, so I'm excited for the season.
Oh, by the way, guess who the pole sitter is for tonight? Just got word from our producer. It is none of those 3 of which we picked. Dylan Duval is going to be sitting on the pole for us tonight when we get kicked off here in a couple minutes.
All right, Dylan's got a great teammate and great setup over there, Stuart Haas, so we'll see what he can do with it. Kicking off the season right, a win, maybe a shot at a championship if you get the win tonight, but it's Daytona. All you want to do is win. The 2023 season officially here. I hope you enjoy it. For Blake McCandless and Camille, I'm Alan Cavana. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the race tonight.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Inches from the wall, you can feel it. The excitement, the emotion, the drama.
Michael Conti wins the season opener at Daytona.
They call this the World Center of Racing. As a driver, this is where you go if you want to be remembered. Now take a minute and consider this. To get here, you have to battle 39 of the world's best and survive the big one. Over 1,700 drivers and only 40 opportunities. Any one of them would have given anything to still be racing tonight. How would I know? Because I was one of them. I raced in the series for 4 years. I know what it takes, how much it means, how much it can hurt, and how much it can reward. Now, they're the ones who can become legends, remembered forever, right here, tonight. Welcome to Daytona.
This is our series, where the stakes are always higher, where virtual meets reality. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series.
Yeah, look at my shine with the block. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like walk. Time's right, and I know the scene's walking in a long light. Promise you don't wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high tide. My crown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you wanna play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
To $300,000 begins anew as for the 14th time we welcome you to iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway for the season opener of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And good evening, Sim Racing fans, and welcome to the iRacing broadcast booth. We're alongside Blake McCandless. My name is Evan Pasoko. Blake, it feels like we just did this last year, but we are starting brand new. The 14th season of eNASCAR competition kicks off right here tonight.
And that it does, Evan, and we're so excited because, again, this is an opportunity, like Alan and I talked about in the pre-race show, for somebody to change their season. To go to victory lane tonight would mean so much. Not a guaranteed playoff spot, but a huge weight off your shoulders and a spot that, if you, as long as you can stay in the top 20, that you have a shot at $100,000 by season's end.
Big money. That is 18 weeks and 8 months away from us here right now. But I promise once the green flag drops tonight, it's going to be no time until we're talking about playoffs and we're talking about who will be the champion. We have seen 6 different champions over the course of the last 6 seasons, 4 different championships representing the teams over the last 4 years. Blake, there has never been a more competitive era of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and we are rolling for the Daytona 200. So let's take a look trackside and take a look at your iRacing starting grid. Dylan Duvall is on pole position tonight for Stewart-Haas Esports. He'll be alongside the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18 machine of Bobby Zelensky. Row number 2, as we continue on through, going to be the E-Racer duo, Colin Keister and Colin Bowden, starting in 3rd and 4th position respectively. And then how about some rookies? Joey Brown, FGR XL, alongside the front row number 38 of Michael Cozy Jr. And then a veteran, Keegan Leahy, back with 2311 Racing. He'll be alongside the Team Dillon entry, brand new as well for this season, the 33 of Tucker Minter. Wyatt Tinsley will find himself rolling off in the number 9 position, and rounding out your top 10, it's Nick Ottinger with William Byron Esports.
And right behind the former series champion is another former series champion, your Clash winner and defending champion in Casey Kerwin for XSET, as well as Graham Bolin, Championship 4 competitor returning for the Charlotte Phoenix this season. Michael Conti in his final campaign starts in 13th on the inside of row number 7, alongside Jimmy Mullis for Rise Esports in the 46 car. Another Championship 4 competitor for Stewart-Haas Esports is Steven Wilson. He'll start alongside Jordy Lopez Jr., another rookie for Team Dillon this season. Ryan Doucette is back in the Coke Series now in row number 9, along with Kevin King, who is making his first start since 2014 for Junior Motorsports, and Alan Bowes, as well as Derek Bordeaux. Evan will round out your top 20.
Halfway home from Daytona, Donovan Strauss in the Williams Esports 51, going to be alongside the Latarte Esports number 40 machine of Dylan Alt. And then Ryan Luza back with XSET in the number 4 car, going to be alongside the second of the FGR XL entries. That's the 12 of Garrett Maines. Lucky row 13, the Jim Beaver Esports number 15 of Garrett Lowe, alongside the Elliott Sadler Esports number 27 of Cody Bias. Row number 14 going to be made up by Derek Justice in the number 31 car, alongside Corey Vincent in the 2. New affiliations for both of those drivers. They're ahead of last year's winner here in Daytona, the Charlotte Phoenix 43 of Femi Olat, and the Tony Kanani Sports 11 of Parker White, another one of your rookies back there with some work to do in 30th.
And again, these drivers hoping they can race for Tyler Gary for Tony Kanaan, as well as Michael Guest, brand newcomer to 2311 this season, still looking for his first win. Caden Honeycutt for RFK Racing in the inside of row 17, along with Matt Busa looking to make another playoff run this season. Timmy Holmes, newcomer to this series, alongside Vicente Salas, who just staved off relegation at the end of last season. Daniel Falkingham, newcomer to JGR, replacing Ray Alfala with Malik Ray starting to his outside. He'll have 37 spots to go forward for a win, as well as Brandon McKissick, who we've heard from earlier, and Zach Novak back here in row 20 to make up all 40, Evan, that will be making the show tonight.
It is a look at the bit of your iRacing starting grid, and let's go down trackside and talk with your pole sitter tonight. Dylan Duvall has locked up the pole. James Pike, tonight he becomes 9th on the all-time start list, competing in his 130th eNASCAR race.
Pole at Daytona for the Stewart-Haas Esports driver out of Canada, Dylan Duvall. And Dylan, the starting on pole this year at Daytona mean maybe a little bit more than it has in past, given the way this package is racing?
I don't know if I'd say it means more than in the past. It obviously means a lot, regardless. Just it's one of our, if not our biggest race of the year. It's exciting to have Eckridge meets Nathan's Famous and Smithfield on the car this year as well. So just like in general, it's nice to come in and like start off on a good note, regardless of it being Daytona or like versus like previous years. I think we're going to be moving around a lot as far as like who's going to be in the front and the back. So I don't think it's a big advantage. If anything, it might be a little bit of a disadvantage having a bad pit box. But that really only comes into play if we get green flag stops. So yeah, it's definitely awesome to be on the pole. First time in a while for me. Happy to start off on the right foot with the new sponsors and here for another season of the eNASCAR series.
Dylan Duvall will look to end this evening right where he starts it, at the very front of the field, Evan.
He becomes just the 27th driver all-time to get multiple pole positions in his career. And as we get set to open this thing off with an 80-lap affair, walk us through it, Blake, with the Race News Race Analysis.
80 laps, 200 miles, going to be relatively straightforward in terms of fuel strategy. Should be able to easily make it on one stop. Of course, you have to get down to 60 miles an hour to get down to pit road speed here at the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, that pit stop time can be anywhere from about 12 to 14 seconds. There are 3 sets of tires available, although that will not be that important. And again, you should be able to easily make it on one pit stop.
Lights out on top of the pace car field in the hands of Dylan Duvall. For the first time in 2023, we say, let's go racing at Daytona.
Oh, trouble in the back of the pack as 6 or 7 cars pile into turn 1. Donovan Strauss, as well as many others, piled up here in turn number 1. Michael Guest, Cody Bias, others involved in a heap of smoke here as we just got the season going, Evan.
Yeah, this one's going to get woed up before they could even get close to speed. It was contact coming out of the tri-oval, and it was a checkup on the inside that caused it. What you saw up front was a good start for the outside. At the moment of yellow, Bobby Zelensky was in front of those other competitors, so we'll see where they cycle out between scoring loops and whatnot for who's going to be in control of this race. But it was pretty clear up front things were fine, no chaos. It happened to be about, I'd say, 10 or so rows back, right there in the heart of the field, and something happened on the inside that spit the 15 to Garrett Lowe to the middle of the racetrack. Let's take a second look.
We're going to see right here Donovan Strauss right behind Alan Bose. There's going to be a vicious checkup here on the bottom. And, I mean, it's pretty clear. Just Garrett Lowe was not able to see it happen in time. You can see the rest of the field piling in. And even heard a couple of, chatters over the radio. Really, guys, this is how we're going to start this season. But, yeah, a vicious checkup right there. Not much that Garrett Lowe could do. I don't think there will be too many cars that have very bad damage out of that. But, nevertheless, not something you want to happen on lap 1.
Certainly not the goal. Admittedly, even that 15 of Lowe, who we saw make that evasive move to the middle of the racetrack, doesn't have a ton of damage on that car. I always think it's funny. You go to a racetrack like a Daytona, a Talladega, super aerodynamically sensitive, and yet this is a place where you can get away with a little bit of damage within reason as these drivers race in the pack. You guys were talking about it on Countdown to Green, how much of a difference that makes, and it sounds like we've got Donovan Strauss dialed up on the radio, Blake.
Hey, Donovan Strauss, we'll just go ahead and ask you what happened out there getting through the gears after that restart.
Yeah, they checked up in front of me, and I kind of just had not really anywhere to go. So that kind of just led me to having to check up big time, and then I got hit. It was just a chain reaction right there.
Do you think... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And we're just going to fix the damage here, and we'll be all right.
Speaking of damage, if you can hang on for just a couple more seconds, do you have any damage?
I got 20 seconds, so I'll be okay.
All right, doesn't sound like it's too bad. Well, Donnie, thanks for talking to us, and hopefully you guys can rebound here.
Tough break for him, but could be worse. He'll try to get that damage repaired. What it is going to do is kick him down to the end of the field, a full 40-car field here tonight, and a handful of takers admittedly on pit road towards the rear of the field. Everybody from 23rd on back did come down pit road. A lot of the drivers, of course, in for some minor service. Others just topping off the cars on fuel. Let's take a look at Parker White's perspective. He was on the outside. Remember, this all starts down low. There's the move to the middle of the racetrack. There's the checkup. He makes some contact with that Toyota in front of him and a little bit of help from behind. But I'll tell you what, that is a nice piece of driving by Parker White to keep that race car in one piece, and Blake gain a lot of spots through that.
I'll agree with that. White did an incredible job right there. And how about that? You know, this is your first lap. You've worked all these years to get up to this level. And then your first lap in eNASCAR competition, you're already having to miss an accident. So, but Parker White capable of doing it. And I don't think the damage on that car is significant at all. So White should be okay. And a decent job right there of driving right into it in the middle of the smoke.
Courtesy of making those moves there, he's going to be able to gain some spots. And you talk about the road to compete in this series. Well, if you want to keep up to date with us as we race through this 2023 season, get all the latest updates and news from the world of eNASCAR, then sign up today. You can scan the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen to stay up to date with the iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Long way to go until we get to that September 26th finale at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. Like, I know you guys were talking about that on Countdown to Green, how fun that is going to be as well. And looking forward to returning to Homestead a little bit later on this year, James.
Yeah, just a quick update from Jim Beaver Esports, Garrett Lowe. He was asking his crew whether or not he thought he was at fault in the incident, whether or not it looked that way. They said, no, we think it's a racing deal. We don't see any damage on your car. Just put it behind you, eyes forward, go try and get back up to the front of the field. So hairy start for a lot of people towards the back there, but Garrett Lowe, a little bit easier off than most.
He'll have to just try to regroup and continue on forward. He's going to restart this race in 19th position. Funny enough, that is a gain of 6 from where he started this race after he rolled off the grid back in the number 25 spot. Somebody else who gained is the car in control. As we roll off at turn number 4, Bobby Zalenski did get the better jump on the outside line for the initial start of this race. So as the control car, he heads to the inside of the front row. Pace car off and in. It's Zalenski and Duval on the front row. Green flag back in the air. Pretty good push from the back there, but it's the outside, the advantage down the back straightaway. Duval going to go right back to the point, pushed by Colin Keister.
And Duval's going to get cleared down to the bottom, as you could see the help that Keister gave him. And you're going to see that a lot tonight, Evan, that these brief kind of two-car tandems is the quickest way that you can go. You can really get moving if you have 3 cars, but you're going to see it right there. The 14 and the 42 hooked up. They're going to pull away a little bit from that 23 there on the outside and make up that ground with these two-car tandems. But again, very unsettling handling-wise for that car that is out front.
And these drivers typically don't want to be too aggressive in the turns, but I've seen a lot of updrafting through the corners, which is going to be a concern because these race cars can get awfully light. But we mentioned Zalenski got the lead up high, went to the inside to be the control car, and the outside, once again, the place to be. It is Keister, Brown, and Leahy. 3 cars advantage up on the outside. One driver that I thought was surely going to try to get hooked up with his teammate, though, was at 69 of Ballenbeek. 3rd in line now on the inside of the racetrack. He started alongside his teammate Colin Keister, but they couldn't find each other there, and now they're split up. Keister leading the outside line and leading this race.
Well, at least at a certain point, you kind of have to commit to the very bottom or the very top. And it was interesting to see how this race played out a year ago. We had never seen the next-gen cars racing at Daytona in real life. But this is how this race has formed up in the NASCAR Cup Series, is that you have a very distinct high line, you have a very distinct bottom line, and it's hard to really make a third lane work because you get side drafted from both sides. You really have to carry a lot of speed to try to make that third line work. But as you'll see, Duval leading the bottom and the top probably, I would say, is that preferred groove. You have a little bit more wiggle room and ability to kind of control where you want to run if you're on that outside line. So I think slowly but surely you'll start to see this top lane, if they are committed, will continue to make up some time.
And this is what you'll see in real life as well, right? It's not that long ago. If you got clear on the outside on the service a handful of years ago, you'd go right to the bottom. It was just the obvious thing to do, get to the inside, make that the preferred lane. What you've seen with these latest draft models, much more in line with what you see with the NASCAR Cup Series. The top side is going to be better if you have the strength of numbers and if you can stay together. And if there's more cars up there, it's going to be very little what these cars on the bottom can do. Zelensky trying his very best, drafting with the 41 of Dylan Duval. Then you got Bowden. Then you got the 38, another rookie, and Michael Cozy Jr., followed by Tucker Minter. Those lead 5 on the inside. They'll be able to hang even or so with those cars up top, but I do think it's going to be challenging for them to completely overtake them. But a little bit of bump drafting on the bottom and a bit of separation up top, and in the blink of an eye, they've gone from a 4 to 5 car length deficit to side by side for the race lead. Off of turn number 2, this is lap number 9.
Well, again, you could see that Zelensky and that 41 of Dylan Duval got hooked up once again, and even you can see Colin Bowden and Michael Cozy Jr. making a little bit of a 2-car tandem right now. You have to be so precise, though, so careful, as there's a familiar shot if you've been watching our broadcast for the last year or so, Colin Bowden. And you know what? I think every time that we check in with Colin, Evan, that mullet he's got, I feel like it's grown every single time we've cut to this camera shot.
The mullet's getting longer, and I always look to see what he's watching on TV. Looks like some college hoops tonight to get him in the mood. So he's locked in and ready to go, and having a great start so far for the driver out of Suffolk, Virginia, 3rd in line on the inside. Again, his teammate Colin Keister leading this race up top. Those are some nice, good-looking purple and black e-racer cars that are on track this year. As we got some 3 wide brewing, middle of the road, and look out, the 45 of Michael Guest hooked up with the 7 of Malik Ray, and they are making some headway. Jordy Lopez wants to get in on the action. He'll put his Coca-Cola Chevrolet into the middle. Let's ride on board with Jordy Lopez Jr., middle of the pack in Daytona. Almost got real ugly last time in turn number 3. That 3 wide evaporated really quickly, and now it's an even split inside and outside as Lopez found himself on the bottom. And there's a quick look at Michael Conti making a side step from the outside of the inside line. Bowden thinking about the middle, not going to go for it. Still the outside, the place to be, down the super stretch and into turn 3.
Well, you say that, but right now that bottom, boy, do they have a lot of momentum around where Jordy Lopez was trying to make up some ground as he got all the way up here to that 4th car on the inside lane. And it just seemingly happens out of nowhere. I wouldn't say that they have strength in numbers, but all of a sudden you can see all that momentum is just fading away on the top side. Keister back to 6th, back to 7th. And again, it happens out of nowhere. He'll continue to fall back.
And it's almost like Bowden jumped at a line up top, and it took that 1 car out of the fray, and it just completely destroyed the outside line. He'll jump on board now on the outside line. This is Malik Ray's number 7 up the road that you're looking up to, and some special paint schemes on those Jim Beaver cars honoring the late great Ken Block. So great to see those paint schemes, and I know how well entwined Jim Beaver and the entire group over there at Jim Beaver Esports was with Ken and that community. So great to see them paying tribute and having a good run right now for that team. They're running nose to tail inside of the top half of the field as you can see what happened with that 3 car. Jordi Lopez Jr. was kind of in no man's land in that 3 wide scenario, Blake. 2 laps later, he's 4th. That's how quick things can change here at Daytona.
Yeah, and just how the top 10 or so, the entire inside line has just continued to pull away, and all the momentum we were talking about, how comfortable everybody looked up top, it has certainly shifted for these cars back down to the bottom. You can see Dylan Duval is the first car on the outside line. He's in 12th right now and continuing to plummet through the field. Bowden abandoned the line. You can see Keister got on the way down. So a lot of these drivers all of a sudden deciding that maybe the high line's not where we want to go. We know that, Evan, as this surface here at Daytona continues to age, again, it was paved in 2011, but if you think about it in real life, this track takes a lot of moisture, a lot of weather over the years, and of course with the new scan of this racetrack a year ago, with that brings some different handling characteristics, and we're starting to see that play out a little bit, especially in these next-gen cars, that handling kind of once again being a major theme here at Daytona, especially with these open setups and how trended out these cars are trying to be. These cars and these drivers are running right on the edge.
It's a hot, slick afternoon as well. It is just past 2 p.m. in sim time, so track temp about 20 degrees warmer than that of the actual temperature as well. It is a recipe for some handling issues. You'll always hear stories about that more here at Daytona than drivers will be talking about when we go racing in Talladega in a couple of weeks' time. As the inside starts to try to pull away and run away, check out this view. One-handed Garrett Maines. It's because he's back in 39th and on his own, but I'll say it again, the best view in sim racing is that camera look that he's got on his forehead on the right-hand side of your screen, Blake. I know he's not where he wants to be. He was in that wreck earlier. He's hoping for a yellow so he doesn't lose the lap out here on his own, but man, is that camera angle going to give us some really fascinating perspectives over the course of this season.
Well, it is, and kind of just look at how he's holding the wheel right now. I mean, you can tell he's just, this is the worst feeling, I think, in sim racing. When you're at a plate track, you're all by yourself, your car's damaged, you can't keep up, and it is... I mean, that's just the worst feeling in the world. You can't do anything other than hope for some yellows to come down and fix some of that damage, but pretty helpless for Garrett Maines, who that last time was 6 seconds slower than your top 2 right here, your race leaders, Bobby Zielinski, and how about Michael Cozy Jr., rookie to this series? Trying to see if maybe he wants to take the top spot with Tucker Minter, but right now going to stay right in line with Bobby Zielinski and keep that momentum on the bottom lane rolling.
And you take a look to the outside in the battle for 6th spot here, those lead cars up top. Caden Honeycutt leads that group of race cars. Tyler Gary's in 2nd, and then Ryan Doucette sits as that 3rd car in line up on the outside. He'll be the 2nd now because the 17 Honeycutt's going to drop right down to the inside of the racetrack and try to move with that side. Doucette, one of the returning veterans, both he and Kevin King requalified into this series. They have competed in the past, did not compete though in 2021. And you can see 3 wide off into turn 4. That's Ryan Luza holding the outside. Somebody else involved in that early lap 1 accident, and he will yield high. He's going to be the first driver to fall down a lap, and that means that we're going to be catching up to Garrett Maines, who we were just talking about, in no time at all. Maines currently coming off of turn 2, and this lead pack is running about 6 seconds faster per lap than those cars that are damaged and or just outside of the draft, James.
A quick update from William Byron Esports, Nick Ottinger. He was able to get up front by riding the middle, and they tried it a few times, but it died off so quickly. He made a very particular point once he got back down to the inside, single file in a relatively safe space. He said, that right there is why I do not trust the middle lane. They also think that one of the rookies may be responsible for wreck later. They're very nervous and very worried about how bouncy the rookies seem to be in traffic. So Ottinger clearly going to be someone that values experience over everything else here at Daytona tonight.
And you got a good technical alliance down there on the inside of the racetrack. As you see the 33 car right there in the middle, Tucker Minter, the 3 machine behind as well. So a lot of team action as well may be in play on the inside of the racetrack as the Team Dillon Esports cars represented well. A couple of drivers using the radio as well to count down some swaps and closing rates. A lot of very aggressive pushing early in this one. But right now, it's Bobby Zalenski, 12 laps led at the opening 20 so far. Not too bad for one of your Championship 4 contenders from 2022.
Well, not bad, but you got to think that, when we were there in Charlotte, Evan, I mean, you could see the disappointment for Bobby Zalenski because he has had so many opportunities to try and win a championship. He got to the Championship 4 by virtue of a super speedway win last season at Talladega. And here he is again, right back to it, showing himself up front and showing why he is one of the best drivers that have run in the history of this series, as he'll try to add once again to his win total that is up to 11 so far in series history, best for 6 all time.
He has qualified for more Championship 4s than anybody else, but still looking to close that one out at the end of the year, and Bobby Zalenski appears to not be slowing down, at least a perennial championship contender year in and year out. Quarter distance, though, through this race in Daytona, 59 laps still to go as the 18, the 38, and the 33 lead the field as they run. Now things have calmed down just a little bit, and I'll knock on wood as soon as I'm done talking to Blake, but we had seen a lot of that 3 wide. It would come up, it would sizzle out. Seems like drivers have maybe gotten a foot underneath themselves. That's TBD on if that'll continue as we take a look back at the new colors on Derek Justice's number 31 machine. The Pioneers, one of the esports organizations joining the series for this year. I think that's such a big storyline, Blake. And again, you guys touched on this in Countdown to Green. The fact that when we saw the championship end last season, it was the first time an esports org won the driver's title with XSET representing Casey Kerwin. And it had always been NASCAR teams in the years prior. So great to see that group joining us here in 2023 on the grid.
Well, and they're excited about the drivers that they have. Derek Justice, who once again went back down to the Contender Series, but has stayed in the Coke Series for now his 3rd season. And Wyatt Tinsley, young up-and-comer that the Kansas City Pioneers, along with a lot of our esports organizations, very excited to dive headfirst into this eNASCAR space.
And it's been a good week for Kansas City. So we'll see if the Pioneers can keep it rolling here on the virtual high banks at Daytona. In a pretty good spot in the lead pack, keeping the race car clean. That is the objective early in this race. And, don't be coaxed into a false sense of security. Just because that's a new organization doesn't mean they got a lot of smart sim people in that group. And of course, that's led by their 2 extremely talented drivers that are going to be a perennial force. And they've done a good job of finding each other. That's big. There's other 2 teammates right there, both of the Canon Esports drivers, 2 true rookies in Parker White and Tyler Gary right there as well. How about Tony Kanaan, TK, fielding a team in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series? They've got Micro Center on those Toyota cameras tonight, or cameras I should say, and those are good looking cars for the cameras that we're going to be watching all season long. What a unique person to have in this space.
Well, I love when sim racers love to get involved in this series. When you think about a lot of drivers who have a sim racing background, guys like Parker Kligerman, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Denny Hamlin, and to see their involvement over the course of this series evolve, and Tony Kanaan, who is a big advocate, he's a big participant on the iRacing service, and that's what I love, is when these team owners are invested, not only from the ownership side, but they get behind the wheel, they invest in this community, and it makes a big impact. And it's good to see somebody like Tony Kanaan, who's had such a great history here on iRacing, to be able to field some cars this year.
And we talk about the unique perspectives that we're going to give you all season long. There they all are. Your class of 2023 strapped in for the first points race of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series campaign. We'll be jumping on board with them virtually all season long, taking you behind the scenes and into the living room, the bedroom, the garage, the man cave, the office, all of the various locations where these drivers are racing from this season. It has settled down a little bit, though, and Bobby Zalenski, the 18 car, has led 18 laps at Daytona. You're watching round 1 of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. More from Daytona on the other side.
There's one more chance to catch all the action at the famous 2-mile oval at Auto Club Speedway. We're talking 5 wide, full throttle, next-gen cars, ripping up laps inside some gorgeous mountains type of action. And the access to drivers and stars? Oh, it's got plenty of that action.
Here comes Kyle Larson.
So get ready. You don't want to miss all the, well, you know what we were going to say. Get your tickets now at autoclubspeedway.com.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway coverage of tonight's race, brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by NASCAR. February is Black History Month, and eNASCAR is proud to recognize the accomplishments of past and present icons within the sport. The contributions of many to the sport should be celebrated as they help fuel NASCAR's past, present, and future. And by Wendy's. Get $3 off your Wendy's order on DoorDash with a Coke Zero. $20 order minimum. Terms apply. We are working now to put lap number 29 behind us as you ride on board with Wyatt Tinsley, 7th, or should I say Brandon McKissick back in there in the racetrack. He rides 17th position on track right now. One of many rookies to the series. There he is in the bottom right. And you want to talk about linking up with somebody with the knowledge. How about landing a ride with Latarte Esports, Blake, in your first year out?
Yeah, I don't think there's hardly anybody that possesses the knowledge of somebody like a Steve Latarte, who does an amazing job with NASCAR and NBC, even has a new podcast with Dirty Mo Doe, and is getting into even kind of the sports betting side of things. I think Colin Bowden may be tuning into that podcast sometime soon. But yes, a great partnership there for Brandon McKissick, and just very interesting racing going on here throughout the pack, as we've kind of had two packs separate. You can see Jimmy Molis right now, who is running up in the front pack that is too wide, but 26th on back, have lost the draft. Starting with Kevin King and further on back. So Molis right now kind of at the tail end of this pack, running on the high side in the 13th position. But there's been kind of a separation, a little bit of a checkup that happened a little bit earlier. So there's a decent amount of separation between our race leaders and those who are trying to form some type of organization in the back to catch this lead duo.
I know that's a different look on the Rise Esports, fueled by Sudoku 46 this year, but man, is that a good looking number 46 car. There's some shuffling up the road, Blake. I remember when we did the eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing series back in 2020, right? There was a couple of Lionel offerings to some of those sim-specific diecasts. Give me the 46 right now. I need it. Although if we started making the eNASCAR diecast, I would probably run out of money, because the amazing work that designers, both virtually and those associated with the real world teams, of doing is absolutely incredible, James. Check out that 46.
Really, really sharp paint scheme, part of the Fueling the Future series that Rise Esports announced on Monday. They're going to be looking at some of the areas that we visit on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and this being Florida. Of course, we're going to get a Floridian paint scheme to start, so lots of bright colors. Also, a little update on the back of the pack, featuring Jimmy Molis, Stephen Eckwise, Zach Novak. Those cars from about 25th on back are trying to work together to catch the main pack, and Zach made the point. He said, guys, we were switching and having one car go from the front to the back in an orderly fashion and sort of repeating the process. When we were doing that, we were gaining time on the leaders. Now that we're not switching, we're losing time. We need to keep switching and maintain that rhythm in order to get back up towards the front. So a little bit of nerves here, and you don't want to lose too much time, especially when green flag pit stops are right around the corner. We're not too far away from them, so drivers in fact trying to get a little bit worried.
We talked earlier about the difference between being in the main pack and not, and you can see right there, Blake, bottom right corner of your screen, just how much you're losing if you're not with that lead draft, and how challenging it's going to be for this trio to be organized enough to catch a field. That lead pack is 24, 25 cars strong.
Well, not only that, there's a big difference in just running in the draft and having a good tandem or even just 3 cars out there. You can see right now, this is Joey Brown, Keegan Leahy, and Matt Busa. You can see Busa, because of the draft effect with Keegan Leahy, you need somebody behind you. With the way the air bubble works in these cars, both in the sim and in real life, you need someone behind you, and Busa is going to struggle to try and keep up with this lead pack, although he may have Zach Novak looks like he's catching this lead pack as we go with our Logitech onboard camera.
Back up front, it is a new race leader. Michael Cozy Jr. has led 5 laps in his first race in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, trailed by Tucker Minter, then Zelensky, then Lopez. Every year, Blake, the story is the new blood, right? With the relegation system and with the Road to Pro ladder, there are always new drivers coming in. This season, it is a true rookie class of 10, and right now, rookies occupy 3 of the top 4 spots on track.
Well, again, there's so much talent when you think about coming into this series, and so many of these drivers that have been spending years trying to get to this point, and seeing somebody like Michael Cozy Jr. out front. I mean, this is somebody who knows how to win big races. He's an E-Racer Firecracker 400 winner a number of times, and is just somebody that always seems to put himself in the right position, especially when it comes to these plate tracks. It's why I picked him. I guess it's why Alan, when he did his research, wanted to pick him as well. You can see his teammate right now, and Alan Bose, trying to hook up with Derek Justice right now to stay inside the top 10. But he and Tucker Minter both. Again, I spoke with Tucker Minter in Charlotte at the championship race while he was still trying to climb the eNASCAR ladder, and that experience made him want to experience this stage for himself. He wanted to be a driver. He wanted to be up on the stage and have a shot to win $100,000 in a championship. So, you know, he's pretty close to it right now, running P2 just before halfway.
And we talk about all these new teams, Front Row Motorsports as well, making it. You take a look, big screen here is the replay to see how all of this went down, and Zelensky was just rotted on the bottom, and that was premeditated by the 38 and the 33. They stepped at a line in sync and made that move look very easy, and that is how Zelensky went from first to third. He has not been able to bounce back since that happened. Still sitting in third on the racetrack. You see 6 cars up top. That Pioneers duo still there. That line led by Bose. As we inch closer and closer, Blake, almost halfway home at the World Center of Racing.
We are already getting to that point, and with that, you have to wonder and kind of think forward to green flag pit stops. It's only going to require one to try and get back or try to get back on the racetrack. It is not going to be a worry. You can make one stop, but how many tires do you take? It's likely going to be a 2-tire call, I would imagine, at least for most of these drivers. But you don't want to mess up your pit stop, Evan, in these races that have been strung out. Again, we still only have 25 cars in this lead pack, so it's paramount that you pit with a large group and you don't overshoot your pit exit, pit entry, all those things, because in a race like this that's strung out, green flag pit stops, that is what matters the most in super speedway racing. As you can see, Caden Honeycutt right now running right with this pack on the bottom side.
Doing everything he can to just stay there lockstep as he stays in the number 9 position as they run now. Worth noting that secondary pack, you'll see the intervals at the top of your screen. It's going to be right after those top 25. Brown, Leahy, Busa Company, right? 6.7, 6.8 or so seconds back. They're running about even lap times as the race leaders, despite having a lesser amount of cars. They're single file, they're in line. It's good that they're not losing time. They're just also not gaining time to this lead pack. And whispers from pit road, Blake, and I'll defer to you view on this is that pit road window somewhere in the 42 to 44 range, and there's some chatter, but a bobble by Bose right behind these top four. They almost wrecked them all in the corner. Somehow they will hang on, and maybe that will delay some pit service because there was a lot of chatter that cars may have been coming that time.
That was an insane save by Alan Bose. Cannot believe with this next-gen car that he was able to hang on to that, and you were exactly right about the call, Evan. Green flag pit stop starting to be had for a lot of your drivers who were running in that second pack. Keegan Leahy, Joey Brown, just to name a couple. And you want to pit in a bigger group than that, though, Evan. You don't want to pit with just 2 cars, just 3 cars. This is something you kind of have to organize with everybody that's around you. You probably want to pit with no less than 5 or so, and we'll see this next time by if some of the race leaders are going to come back down. And we're going to see one more time. I mean, look at that from Alan Bose. What an incredible job of wheeling it, and now they are 3 wide on pit entry with your race leaders.
A great save and a great aggressive drive to pit road as they slow it down to pit road speed of 60 miles an hour. That is a group of 4 cars. Cozy, Minter, Zelensky, Lopez Jr. all down pit road. That's a small group, though, but it may better their odds of getting out of pit road clean and trying to get up to speed ASAP. So the lead pack, 21 cars deep. They're going to have to go high to work around a bit of lap traffic here. The 14, the 23 will get past. Both Brown and Leahy pitted last lap. That's to be expected. They'll try to use the draft of this pack to get up to speed quicker. Let's see who wants to come in this time at lap number 42. Not a ton of takers. You're going to have to go back to Colin Bowden to find the first car in. He's in the 42, and I don't know. That was pretty close to speeding at the commitment line.
I'm going to look at his ticker on it. No black flag. He got right down to 60, and you could give a little bit of it back on entry with the way the timing lines work. But Bowden overshoots his pit stall, so he made it down to pit road speed. And unfortunately, he overshoots his pit stall. That's going to hurt the pack of 3, 4, 5 cars that he came down and pit with.
And Michael Conti, 4th in line in his farewell season. One of the all-time greats at Vet says that he'll be coming to pit road this time. He's not on his own. All the race leaders coming down for service. It's going to be Bose in first with a bit of a wobble and a lockup. Ottinger's in, making about a dozen race cars on pit road.
I would be shocked if Alan Bose did not get caught speeding. He was entering at 69 miles an hour, but again, he gave the time back, so no black flag for Alan Bose. He must have slowed down before that first commitment line, but whew, these guys are cutting it close.
And if you're looking for more live sim racing action, do not have to look far because we'll be right back at it in 2 days' time for the Skip Barber Racing School Round 3 from Circuit of the Americas at Austin, Texas. You can watch that race live at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Saturday, it is Round 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercar from Round 2, so you're not going to want to miss that one. More cars to pit road. Zelensky right through the stalls. He's got an early pit box, Blake. That means he had to adjust his entry. You're seeing the same thing there with Malik Ray in the 7. Everybody else came in aggressive. They went way out to the grass. Those guys couldn't. They had to enter shallow to get into those early pit stalls.
Well, and actually, I had to do a double take myself, Evan. That was actually Daniel Falkingham. 2 Interstate Batteries cars is going to be fooling us a little bit right here.
Round one. We'll get there.
Yeah, first race for all of us here, but back up front, you can see what would essentially be the battle for the race lead and cycling through, and your top 4 have stayed connected. Tucker Minter, you can see Michael Cozy Jr., Lopez, and Zelensky right there. They are blowing by some of the slower traffic, but an incredible job by these 4 to enter together, to exit together, and to find each other in the draft. I believe, Evan, they're going to be clear of the entire field by the time this cycle is all said and done.
They're doing a really good job as this thing cycles through. You can see the 33, 38, the 3, and the 18. That is that lead pack of 4. They have a all advantage over the rest of the field. Here's the view from 5th position, and this is Alan Bose, who was trying to close the gap, and Bose has got quite a significant speed advantage, 193 for him. You compare that to Tucker Minter up front, who was at 192. So there are more cars in this secondary pack. Is that going to be enough to close the 1.3 second deficit? Probably, but I'd still call that a real successful cycle for Minter, Cozy, Lopez, Penske pitting earlier than anybody else, and they're going to end up with a real good track position. Here's that secondary pack, Blake. The decision's going to be when they catch those top four, do they stay in line or do they use this momentum and try to go immediately to a pass to the outside for the lead?
Well, it's not so easy to say. You have 8 cars in the second pack, and about a second behind them, you have another pack of cars led by Caden Honeycutt and about 5 or 6 others who are likely going to latch onto this second group. So it's tough to say if you can try and pull away. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. They've already caught that first pack as you take a nice look on board right now with your defending series champion and LA Coliseum winner. And, well, there's your answer right there, Evan. They're going to jump right to the outside and try to blow by your lead 4 cars.
And will the momentum be enough to carry them there, though? In fact, it's his teammate that's going to make it probably unlikely. Cozy pushing aggressively on Minter, seeing that charge coming from that outside line to try to boost the bottom. It was going to help Munter out for a little bit. However, that 34 machine of Alan Bowes is now within striking distance. He's 3 car lengths back, is off track and into the grass. The 36 of Brandon McKissick. What happened to him in turn number 3? He was all on his own. No yellow, though. This race will stay green.
Oh, he had a half spin back there. I believe it was with, it was with Femi Olot, who they were about the 7th car in line trying to tandem, and it was just a bump gone wrong. Now, he didn't spin. He went through the grass, so all is good. But unfortunately for Brandon McKissick, he is going to need a caution to try and catch back up. Not going to be able to do so without an issue here, and we'll take a look at that. If you look at the right-hand part of your screen, there you see 36, Brandon McKissick, and that's how difficult it is. One slight bump gone wrong. He takes a little bit of a dive through the chicane, although, Evan, I know they ran there a month ago, but he was not down to speed to take that chicane.
Yeah, that's what it would look like if I tried to do the 24 hours of Daytona through the chicane. Is the braking zones and the gear shifting not my forte. Endurance racing, super fun. Just there's a time and a place, and that's not the time and the place for Brandon McKissick to go for the bus stop. He's able to pick up some drafting support and Cody Bias at Bolin, but they're going to be some 20-plus seconds off of this lead back, and an unfortunate result there, but the way he hit those curbs at 190 miles an hour probably could have been worse. I think he's fortunate that that race car stayed on all 4 tires as we continue to watch Alan Bowes try to make this move. They had all the momentum. They went to the outside, but it was his teammate, Michael Cozy Jr., who saw the move coming, pushed aggressively on the bottom, and kind of balanced out that attack. And instead of rocketing to the lead, all those drivers who went to the outside to make a charge still sit there with 31 laps to go in this race.
Again, the organization in the top 3 is just incredible. Remember, these 3 were teammates in the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, in the Contender Series. Minter, Cozy Jr., and Lopez, your top 3. So you can see that friendship, although different teams right now in terms of Cozy and the Team Dillon cars, that friendship, that camaraderie has carried over for these 3. And even Bobby Zielinski right now, he doesn't really have a partner to tango with, James. So these top 3 really doing an incredible job.
Yeah, these 3 have a long-standing friendship. They've been friends on the sim for a really long time, so not a surprise that all of Minter and Cozy and Lopez are working together, and in particular, they're calling out in conjunction with their teammates, their spotters. They're watching that top line led by Alan Bowes, and they're telling each other when to push and when to bump draft and then when to lay off of their bumpers to manage the engine temps. You can push for a little bit, but it shoots the water temp way up through the roof, so you have to be particular about when they do it. These 3 are trying to manage it so that they are pushing when the top line is pushing and effectively cancel out the runs from that top lane. So we'll see whether or not that can hold for the next 50 laps or so, but we'll be back with more action from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series after this.
When I hit the wall, this thing shook like crazy. I have experienced that in real life, so I can compare.
I tend to choose rally games that are really putting the actuators through their paces, and they've been holding up really well.
exactly how it is in real life. That's the coolest part.
It's called the birthplace of speed. Back then, it was the hard-packed sand that allowed for records to be broken. Today, it's the high banks and long straightaways. Not to mention, it's the dream of every driver and fan, offering a moment of glory that will extend well beyond 500 miles for years to come. We're still talking about the first one, and guarantee we'll be talking about this one. Here's to the great American race that can only be the Daytona 500.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway coverage of tonight's race broadcast, brought to you as always by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. By NASCAR. February is Black History Month, and eNASCAR is proud to recognize the accomplishments of past and present icons within the sport. The contributions of many to the sport should be celebrated as they help fuel NASCAR's past, present, and future. And by D-Box. Make body and racing simulator become one. Improve your virtual race time with D-Box motion technology, providing ultra-precise movements and vibration cues while racing online. There are 25 laps to go the next time by the start-finish line. Here's an onboard look with Corey Vincent, the outside line, working strong as he finds himself scored right now in 15th position, driving the number 2 Toyota this year. What a handful of drivers making some moves through the offseason and in free agency. And if he can stay here for a little bit longer, I think really wait where he wants to be, right? In this lead pack, 20 cars strong. Everybody in this group has got a real chance to win this Daytona 200.
That they do. And looking at the practice races that these guys had yesterday, I mean, it really kind of showed us that anybody has a chance to win. Of course, these drivers seem to tend to clean it up. You know, when we get here and we're actually paying out the points on Tuesday, there were a lot of crashes in the practice races that they ran in the iRacing official series yesterday. But we have not really, other than the opening lap, we have not seen much of that right here. But you could see how much that outside lane has made some ground up, and even Nick Ottinger has kind of busted up, I guess you'd call it the big three of this race, Minter, Cozy, and Lopez, as he got in between those drivers. And Alan Bowes, who has led the charge in the outside lane, has almost gotten up to Tucker Minter, who is in the race lead. But for now, top 20 are attached to this lead pack. Everybody else is fading and not even in the picture. They are 13 and a half seconds back from this lead pack.
You can see the inside aggressively pushing as this outside line wants to continue to make some headway here. Alan Bowes has led 2 laps tonight as the leader of the outside line. 8 cars total have led a lap so far through the 56 completed laps to this point. Sounds like a lot of radio chatter that a couple of the drivers got shuffled out of line back in traffic. Matt Busa, one of the drivers that may have been involved in that. No yellow, but a couple of cars getting spit out of line. Going to even further hinder the progress of that secondary pack as that gap between them grows. And up front, Alan Bowes, new race leader on the inside. He drops down to the bottom.
It has been a fantastic race, hasn't it, for Front Row Motorsports? A lot of new entries. We talk about newcomers to this series, and boy, have the FRM Fords been incredibly strong, and the caution is out. It is going to break up everything with that as I see some smoke. I'm looking for a cause, but boy, this is going to bring all of that to a screeching halt.
Taking a look at the SimSeats 27 of Cody Bias, you can see some right front damage on that Chevrolet. The ZL1 Camaros with a little bit of an aerodynamic look, mainly on the nose of that race car, Blake, for the 2023 season. There's changes here on the sim, of course, match that of what you see in the real life. And the fact that we're looking at a damaged car tells me that this probably involved Cody Bias. Let's wind it back and take a look.
You can see they are locked in together and just barely gets him out of shape. See, Bias gets the worst into that. We talked about how difficult it is. I think anybody who's been on iRacing, Evan, and especially those who are going to be running in Daytona 500s a little bit later on this week are going to scream out, don't push the pusher. Well, that's what can happen sometimes when you're that second car in line and you're being pushed by the third car in line. Sometimes there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah, you become a ping pong ball really quickly. And there is a point where, 3 cars, they have to be aggressive, understand that, try to catch up to the lead pack. But most of the time, that's not going to end very well. And late in the race, you get a little bit of desperation. Unfortunately, that one's going to result in a torn-up race car. So second to caution, a flag of the night will lead us into the final 20 laps of this race. Everybody took fuel earlier to be able to get to the end of it all. And let's watch what happened previously. This is the incident we had referred to that did not bring out a yellow. Couple of cars into the grass. I caught Bias. Bias gets hooked late. I mean, that's a huge mess, Blake, for no yellow, but it was so far behind the lead pack that this was already clear by the time the leaders came on by. But that was the radio chatter that I heard earlier. That was the non-yellow before the incident involving the 27.
Yeah, that's what I know Zach Novak was definitely vocal about, and a couple other drivers about whether that should have been a yellow or not. You could see Busa spun out and right at the end of the tri-oval, but nevertheless, I mean, we get one spin with Cody Bias a lap later, does bring out the caution, kind of resets everything, and makes this a race, Evan. We talked about it was pretty much 20 drivers that were settling it out, a lot of clean racing up here. Well, that is no longer the case. We're going to bring pretty much the entire lead lap, which is 38 cars, pretty much everybody in this race but Ryan Luza and Garrett Maines right into the fray. And I mean, you can make a case for any one of them, Evan, to go on and win this race.
Well, we talk about where we've come from in all the seasons and winners and champions of the past. Well, how about Daytona from 2022, Blake? It feels like it was not that long ago where we kicked off last year's campaign, and some things don't change, right? 3 wide, gone awry. We saw a lot of single car handling issues in that race, and as well, drama with pit stops and strategy throughout.
That we did. We see another 97 Logitech car who didn't get such of a good in there. You can see, there's a bit of a championship fight, or at least it ended up being right there with Bobby Zielinski and Garrett Smith. What was I going to say? Casey Kerwin, my goodness. Nick Ottinger to the wall. Malik Ray, who had a real good shot to win that race, spins off of turn 4. But in the end, this is the winning move. Steven Wilson pushing and just getting enough for Femi Olat to win that one.
It was a 3 wide photo finish, but it was Femi Olat who took home the checkered flag. Will we see another driver get maybe a first win here tonight in Daytona? The one common denominator I notice, a lot of carnage last year, Blake. I am very well aware how much can happen in 19 laps of Daytona, but only 2 yellows so far to this point. But as you mentioned, that pack of 20, gone, right? We're going to be talking about a lead pack of 38 cars. I think the last 20 going to look a whole lot different than the first 60.
That is true, and you got to think, how much does the mentality change up front? While everybody's been in line, everybody's been helping each other and pushing each other, and knowing that there's still a long ways to go, that mentality starts to change when you get inside 20 laps to go. You start thinking about where you want to be on the last lap, when do you want to start pushing, and of course, where you want to be out of turn number 4, whether you want to be the leader in second or in third. And of course, you want to find out more information on everything going on in the eNASCAR world. It's not only related to the Coke Series, but the College Series and everything we have going on iRacing. You can visit iRacing.com/eNASCAR today, because there is a lot going on all across the service, not just this series, Evan, for everybody to take part in.
Pace car off it in. 19 laps to go on the scoring. To pile on it is a front row of Alan Bose and Tucker Minter. Green flag back in the air. Good jump down for the inside. Kerwin trying to push Bose, but the top has been so good on both of the prior starts tonight. Will that propel Minter to the race lead? They're nose to nose in the center of 1 and 2.
And you can see how quickly those top three form. The Tony Kanaan Esports driver and Parker White going high to block. We mentioned him being in some issues earlier tonight, and Ottinger going to make the move up to the outside. So 3 cars locked together there on the bottom. Bose, Kerwin, and Keister. And right now, Minter and Cozy, not a whole lot of help there on the high side.
And the outside fizzles out. 3-car length advantage on the bottom. Colin Keister's going to have an opportunity to make a decision here. Does he want to stay in line behind Bose and Kerwin, or does he want to go to the outside when that run comes? Because here they come. He thought about it and he couldn't make a choice. Either way, tried to go high. It was too late. Tried to go low. That was too late. And now he'll take the nose off the 17 of Caden Honeycutt. 3 wide, 4 wide off of turn number 2, and somehow they hang on.
Oh, they're 5 wide back here as Duvall's trying to get back up on the track, and somehow they save it. It was right around there with Jimmy Mullis as they all scattered around to try and avoid a huge checkup that took part. Caden Honeycutt was not very happy, and he is the lead of the rest of the pack who have lost touch with your top 10.
Well, I saw it coming from a mile away, but then when Colin Keister lost both lanes, he got desperate and made a huge chop, and he's very fortunate that A, his car didn't get destroyed, and also B, that it didn't take everybody else out of this race. But what it did do was it really disintegrated the lead pack. Your leaders have been able to split away. The top 9 cars right now pulling away. Colin Keister, the trailing car of those top 9. And look at the gap. That's what about 2 seconds looks like between the top 9 and everybody else. Now, plenty of time on the clock for that second pack to close back in, but they need to get organized now if they don't want those top 9 to run away before it's too late.
Well, they're not getting organized very quickly. You can see they're side by side. They're going to side draft each other. They're going to slow them down. And if you're in the top 9, again, we talk about how much every single point matters. A lot of these drivers, Daytona is their best opportunity to run up front in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So you even start thinking here on race number 1. Of course, you want to win, but points racing is a part of this game. If you're in the top 9, you just want to be up front to try and settle this when we get to the end in about 16 laps. So everybody in the second pack, though, they have got to figure it out and figure it out quickly. As boy, what a checkup there on the top side with Femi Olot.
And how about Zach Novak, who is back in this secondary pack? He needs to rely on the cars on the inside to close in. The Rise Esports fueled by Sunoco entry, the 75 car this year. And oh, that nice retro-looking 75 car celebrating 75 years of NASCAR racing. And Sunoco doing a good job with that throwback paint scheme. I am sure we will see a lot more of that retro flair. If you're looking for dates to mark on your calendar, I'm marking May 2nd because if the Rise Gang is doing city-based paint schemes, Blake, I'm looking forward to the Vegas scheme. But 2 weeks after that, Darlington, round number 8 on May 16th, should be a good one throughout the field and always is.
A lot of possibilities of designs and colors that could go on out there in your neck of the woods, Evan, in Las Vegas. And you look up front, you have Casey Kerwin again looking to go back-to-back in terms of the series championship. And Kerwin was in a 500-mile race on Sunday. He won it, and this was the exact position that he was in. He stayed in second until the last lap, and honestly, I think that's exactly where you want to be. But it may not be so easy, though. That second pack last time by, a little bit quicker and starting to get just a little bit of the draft off of your race leaders.
And that second pack is starting to make steps in the right direction. We saw that they struggled to get coordinated. Admittedly, they could still do a little bit better. And it's, I think, at desperate times for these 3 up top, the 40, and then both the Charlotte Phoenix entries, the 43 and the 48, just can't get going. But the bottom is trying to close the gap. Last lap for the leader of this pack, Vicente Salas, was a 45.121. Your race leader, though, Alan Bose, 44.832. So a loss on that lap. And again, 12 laps is a long way, but those laps can start to tick away really fast if they don't get this thing sorted out. And the issue is, if they don't start making up ground sooner, Blake, they're going to get more desperate and more desperate, and that's just going to lead to more discombobulation and confusion back here in this group.
Well, and think about what caused the last caution. It wasn't racing up front. It was racing in the back. So if you're up front, you don't want these guys to catch you. You want them to be unorganized, but you don't want something that's going to cause a caution like the 45 cutting down right there, or the 2 Charlotte Phoenix entries right here in Femi Olot and Graham Bolin hooking up. I mean, at a certain point, these guys are going to start racing for points back here and pretty much know that they're not going to chase down the race leaders. They were half a second slower than the lead pack, but of course they spin out, caution comes out. Well, guess what? That takes away the opportunity for everybody in the top 9 to finish up there.
It really does, and the outside has been made up of a couple of drivers that weren't happy with what was happening on the bottom. We just saw the 43 car in the 45.
Oh, what a slide and what a save! If he collects it, he does. Derek Bordeaux, my oh my, was he dead to rights there off of turn 4, and he collected it back.
And that was the 43 who about sent him. Bordeaux fortunate to still be in this pack, but what has that done? It has further shaken up the secondary pack. They are now more than 3 seconds off of the race leaders. They are losing ground with every single passing lap.
And there's really not a whole lot they can do. I mean, you could see they are all getting desperate. They're calling over the radio saying, what the heck are you guys doing? They're getting frustrated that they know this is an opportunity for them to try and win a race, but further and further back they fall. They keep going side by side, and I think they've just given up at this point that they're not going to be able to catch those leaders. They're all trying to race for what would be 10th at this point at the front of that pack, but you can see up front, still organized, not a change in the running order. Kerwin, Minter, and Cozy, though, this is where you have to start to think about defense if you're Kerwin. Kerwin, big friend of Alan Bowes. They've worked together very well. We've seen how Tucker Minter and Michael Cozy Jr. work out and how they have been helping each other all night long. If you're Kerwin, though, you have to keep that in mind, that if you make a move and you make it too early, if the 33 and the 38 are working together, they're going to be able to blow by you if you're trying to make a move on Alan Bowes. So all of that, I'm sure that's where the spotter and Michael Gonzalez and everybody else in that 95 team really starting to come into play here.
Trying to do everything they can now that we are inside of 10 laps to go at the Daytona International Speedway. Alan Bowes now has led 16 laps at his second most out of anybody tonight. Zelensky has led the most with 22, but he finds himself down in the number 12 spot and kind of married to that second pack. Not much that he can do about it as they run now. Now, at some point, this top 9 single file line that has strategically remained in line to keep their gap ahead of the second pack like is going to start to fracture. That guy in 6th is going to be tired of waiting around. He's going to want to make a move. Yes, it would be a great way to start your year with a top 10 in a points race. It's not how race car drivers think. Everybody wants to win. The season opener at Daytona, we talk about the value of wins in this series, and when that happens, they're going to lose speed overall, and that's why if you're in that secondary group, you can't give up now.
No, you can't. And when you talk about the value of wins, think about how many drivers up here have not won an eNASCAR race. Alan Bowes, a 3-time winner. Casey Kerwin, obviously a number of wins in his career. But Tucker Minter, Michael Cozy Jr., Tyler Gary, Derek Justice, so many names up here who for the first time tonight, if they can hang on for 8 more laps, have a shot, have an opportunity. Now you have some veterans in Nick Ottinger, Colin Keister, a lot of former race winners up here as well who have that opportunity, but it's starting to get real. 7 laps to go. You have to start playing through these scenarios in your mind.
And you see the 2-car of Vincent, right? Tail end of this line, Ottinger, Keister. Those are the back 3. If there's going to be a move, is it going to start with those drivers, and then can they coax that middle group, right? Can you get a Cozy, a Gary, a Justice to bite? Remember, though, what we saw earlier, Blake, when it was Zelensky leading this race? All it took was the cars in 2nd and 3rd to decide they were going to make a move. They both stepped at a line at the same time. There was nothing Zelensky could have done. So Bowes is feeling good. He's leading this race. But Kerwin and Minter have a great ability to make a move as high as P2 as well, James.
Yeah, this lead pack and the second pack, they're two very different feelings amongst the drivers within them. That pack behind has noticed that the gap to the leaders has increased lap after lap after lap, and it is pure panic. They are trying to organize in one single file line on the inside, but it just isn't quite coming together the way they need. Meanwhile, everybody up at the front, very calm, cool, collected. Casey Kerwin in particular, I've been listening into for the last few laps, dead silent on the radio. I think he has an idea of when he'd like to make his move. And for what it's worth, I saw him in a league race on Sunday. He didn't make his move until right about here, middle of the chute, in between turn 4 and the start-finish line. So the move for the win could be early, could come with 2 laps to go, 1 lap to go, could be very late, but you never know. And if you're Alan Bowes in particular, you have to be on your toes, ready to defend anything that comes at you as we close it on the checkered flag.
So many different ways that this race could end. Here's the picks from earlier tonight. Garrett Maines was Camille's pick. Alan and you, Blake, going with Michael Cozy Jr. in the 38 car. Cozy's sitting P4 right now. If you're behind the wheel of the 38 car, what's the strategy? What can you do from 4th in line?
Well, if I'm Cozy, I'm knowing that Bowes and Kerwin, they're friends. They're going to work together. I'm going to rely on Tucker Minter right here, and I'm going to work with him. The last thing you want to do if you're in 4th is you get desperate. Nobody goes with you from behind, because you have to think, is Tyler Gary going to go with you behind? We know these two have won a number of races and raced each other for a significant amount of time here recently, but is he going to go with you or fend for himself? There is a lot to consider here, and Nick Ottinger almost falling at the tail end of this group. He, again, might be in danger of losing this lead pack with nobody behind him.
It's another concern is always being the last driver in line. The caboose is not a fun spot to be, but the 25 doing a good job as they run now of staying there after dropping back a couple of spots this lap. This time by 3 laps to go from Daytona. Of course, Blake need to get to the white flag for this race to be official. If there is an accident between now and then, we'll try it again and send this thing into eNASCAR overtime.
Well, and again, a reminder, there are just 2 drivers in the history of this series who have won in their Coke Series debut. Derek Bordeaux and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who won the inaugural race in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Minter, Cozy, and Tyler Gary, your 3 cars up here in this lead pack that have the opportunity to add their name. And caution is out further on back in the pack. And that is going to change everything. Kevin King, Caden Honeycutt. You see Jordy Lopez Jr. involved as well. Dylan Duvall. And, well, you can throw all that out the window, Evan.
And I know sometimes I have jinxed a caution. I will not claim responsibility for this one to Blake, because my statement was solely based on anticipation for this happening. It happened not despite the fact that I said it, but in spite of it. And I think we'll take a look what happened. I don't think anyone's going to be shocked that this incident came from that secondary pack. We've spent the last, 10, 15 laps talking about when they don't make up that ground, they're going to get desperate. It's going to get sloppy. And that's exactly what happened as they went down the back straightaway into turn 3. Let's look.
Now you can see right here just beating and banging right there between the top and the bottom line. And yeah, there's just in desperation trying to get in line. We saw Bordeaux right there. Caden Honeycutt gets the worst end of that. By the way, if you need someone to root for in a couple days in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, look no further than this guy right here. Be running the 04, owned by Corey Roper. Had a lot of successful runs in the Craftsman Truck Series last season, and he'll have 6 starts to start the Truck Series season. So Caden Honeycutt, somebody that you could be rooting for here in a couple days at Daytona.
It's an exciting week. This is kind of the unofficial kickoff for Speed Week here as far as NASCAR sanctioned racing goes. Of course, qualifying, the duels, and of course all 3 of the NASCAR National Touring Series racing this weekend to kick off this 2023 calendar year. Most of the drivers came down pit road just inside of the fuel window towards the midway point, so it's a split decision on pit road, Blake, but I'll hand things off to you because you've got Michael Cozy Jr. dialed up.
All right, talking to the man out of Hagerstown, Maryland. Cozy, I know the one thing I'll ask you about is your friend and who you've been working with so much tonight in Tucker Minter. Y'all aren't going to be lined up, so what is your approach here? approaching overtime and knowing that, well, you're not going to be lined up with that 33 car. You're going to be side by side.
Yeah, not a damn clue. I don't know. We're just going to have to send it here. Fuel's certainly a concern. 3 attempts at a green-white checker. There's a lot that can happen in just moments off the restart here. So, obviously we're going to try to get hooked up here. But it's going to be all chaos here these last couple laps, just trying to work with whoever we can.
All right, and you have your teammate out there in Alan Bowes as well. He's a little bit further on up the road. I know you've been working with the 33, but anything that maybe you can try to do here with your Front Row Motorsports teammate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm here to certainly win. I want to win with anybody I can, whoever's willing to help me get there. But it'd certainly be great to get a FRM car up there in victory lane. Been nice to have both of us there up at the front, but. Yeah, we're just going to send it, man. We'll see you in the care center. We'll see you in victory lane.
All right, Michael, thank you for talking to us. We're going to take Alan Bowes here as well. And Alan, you heard from your teammate right there, and Michael Cozy Jr. We'll move forward to you, though. What's your thought process here being the leader? Because I know sometimes in these situations, you may want to be up front, you may not want to be up front.
Yeah, the 34 Love's Ford Mustang is pretty quick. Not really handling too great, so really just hoping I have a good teammate behind me, good pusher. That's really all it comes down to. If I don't have a good pusher, if I don't have somebody that stays with me, then at the end of the day, it's really not up to me. So I just gotta hope I play it right.
Yeah, I have a lot of help with you right here. First win, though, the potential for it for the first time since 2017. Any more kind of thoughts here before you get rolling?
I hope I get it. That's about it. Checkers or wreckers, I guess.
By the way, our producer, Drew Adamson, is telling my ear, if you win, are you going to be visiting Waffle House after this win?
I might have to, actually. Got to make up for that visit in Charlotte that we couldn't quite get. So, Drew, if I do win, it's for you, buddy. I'm going to Waffle House.
What's your order?
Oh, man. Can't ever go wrong with just a classic waffle, man, especially this late at night.
All right, Alan, we'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Well, Blake, questions on fuel as these drivers might not have enough to go all the way. 3 attempts to finish this race under green flag conditions. If the white flag is taken, the race is official and will finish under green no matter what. If there is a caution flag, a triggering incident before the white, we'll re-rack it and try it again up to 3 times maximum. Pace car going to be off this time. Everybody now going to join a 36-car lead pack. Only one can win the season opener. Green, white checker at Daytona. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go.
Alan Bowes able to have a good restart, but it is dead even with Casey Kerwin there on the top side. Kerwin, though, a great push there from Michael Cozy Jr., Derek Justice, all lockstep. Nobody stepping out of line yet.
Who's going to be the first person to make it 3 wide? They'll go 2 rows off of turn number 2. A little bit out of control and into the outside wall goes Justice. 3 wide and 4 wide now. Down the Daytona super stretch. Kerwin leads. There's no way they're going to make it that far, though. 4 wide in turn number 3. They still hang on. Casey Kerwin looking at a turn number 4. Wrecking behind, but will they get to the white in time?
If they get to the white flag, we'll see it through to the end. And it looks like, just before they get there, the yellow flag is going to be displayed. And you can hear the groans in WinVow Nation as they wreck off of turn number 4. They just about got to the line, but we will have to restack them and try it again.
Tough one there. And admittedly, Blake, I thought the yellow was going to come out about a mile earlier than it did after Bowes ended up into the outside wall, down the back straightaway. The field was completely scattered through, and we watched that wreck essentially unfold through 3 and 4 as Kerwin, pushed by Cozy Jr., were single file on the outside line, almost made it all the way around. In the end, they did not, and there's going to be a lot of drivers that think clutching and coasting, trying to save to get to the end of this race. Minter, Cozy, Keister have all been out there for 41 or so laps. Yellows will give you an opportunity to save, but Cozy mentioned he was a little bit nervous about going to 3 attempts, and pushing it to 2 starts to get into an uncomfortable territory.
And that was all kind of baked into the cake on when you came down in the midst of your green flag stop. Now, the problem is that pretty much everybody up here is in the same boat. And, I mean, if you're up here, you cannot pit. There's no rationale where you're going to give up the lead if we maybe go to 3 green-white checkered attempts that you're going to go back to the 30th spot. There's just no way. You're stuck, and you've kind of made your bed, and you have to lie in it. We're going to get one more replay and look at what happened here. Now, remember, Kerwin a year ago, Casey, at Pocono had a win, but this was almost a similar situation where he almost got to the white flag, but not quite able to do it here. As you can see, Colin Bowden going to be kind of the catalyst for this one as he and Donovan Strauss got together, or Vicente Salas, rather, got together.
It's tough because the night started so good for those drivers, and look at the light change to yellow, maybe a second before? Although I'll give Barney his kudos, mid-season form. He was ready to whip out that yellow just in time, let the drivers know before they got there that race was not official. And we will try it again, line them back up. Couple of position changes, notably, of course, Alan DeBose gone from the battle up front after he went into the outside wall. So he trickles pretty substantially down the running order as he'll find himself down in P6. Still a great opportunity to try to win this race, but not sitting on the front row, Blake. And you mentioned the yellow was much to the chagrin of Winvow Nation. Michael Cozy Jr. was going to be sitting real good there, P2, with the opportunity to make whatever move he wanted if this thing had stayed green on the back bumper to Kerwin. Instead, now he'll have to go to the outside, and all of these are going to play a factor as you've got Colin Bowden dialed up.
Colin, I know you're wrapped up in that latest one. What happened from your perspective?
Everything that could possibly go wrong tonight has gone wrong. Just back here with squirrels, and I mean, we're all 4 and damn 5 wide right there, so we're just going, that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's coming down to the last lap. And it's just a soup sandwich back there, so hopefully they crash again. We're going to need another one of them, preferably 2, and then see if we can't salvage something there.
Well, I know you're back here in the 35th position, but is the car torn up too bad? Because I wouldn't put it outside of the realm of possibility that you can still crack about a top 15 or a top 10 even here.
Oh, it's beat all to hell. The steering wheel's pointed at like 10 o'clock to go straight. It's all the way over to 9 o'clock, try and get it to go through a corner at this place. Tires are squealing. Something's probably falling off of it. Driver's ready to rage. Not a good time.
All right, well, you got the Oklahoma State game on in the background. We'll let you get back to that and these last 2 laps.
Yeah, all the bets have lost tonight, too. It shambles.
When it rains, it pours for Colin Bowden, Evan.
It's tough. Hopefully he was listening to Latarte's podcast you referenced earlier, can make up for some of that over the weekend. I want to see some Steve Latarte eNASCAR money lines. Who would Steve pick for the championship? Yeah. Because no offense to you guys on Countdown to Green, Blake, but I've seen how those picks shake out every once in a while, so just a second opinion never hurts.
I was hoping that maybe because, when we were in the booth here last year, I'm happy to finally jump in on those picks. The problem is I didn't think Alan and I would have the same pick tonight, so. But I don't know, at least right now, so far so good, picking that 38 car.
Looking good. He's sitting on the outside of the front row. A couple of restarts tonight. The outside has been the place to be. On others, the bottom had the better jump, including the most recent restart. So let's see what happens here. Kerwin leads the bottom, and Cozy leads the outside. It's attempt number 2 at a green-white checker. Overtime restart. Green flag in the air. Kerwin leads it at 2 to go.
And Malik Ray was laying far back from Cozy. That's not going to help him. He's already dipped down in line, so Cozy no help there on the high side as Malik Ray went right to the bottom, going to hook up with Tucker Minter. You see Donovan Strauss, and I don't think they're going to make that work. They're 4 wide, and nobody has spun yet. They're still off the pace, but they are still racing hard up the front. 3-car tandem breakaway at the front of the field with Kerwin, Minter, and Malik Ray.
Still not through the clear yet in the back, but up front, single file on the outside line. Kerwin, Minter, the lead duo. A couple of drivers take a peek to the inside. The 23s down there all on his lonesome. But Casey Kerwin, will he get to it this time? As the race leader, white flag in the air. 1 lap to go in Daytona.
Tucker Minter's got a shot. Is this finally Malik Ray's chance to go to victory lane for the first time? All 3 cars right behind Casey Kerwin have never won in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and they have their chance here off of turn number 2. Here comes Koji to the bottom, and he's got help with his front row teammate.
It is the Front Row Motorsports duo on the bottom, but the bump by Bose loosened up Cozy. They're both going to have to eject and go back up to the outside line. Kerwin, Minter, Ray, now the one of Bordeaux. Your top 4 cars as they race off of turn number 4 for the final time. What can Tucker Minter do in his first career start? There's contact. Kerwin's into the outside wall, and Tucker Minter finds victory lane in his first career eNASCAR race.
And a sigh of relief there for Tucker Minter, who will win in his eNASCAR debut. And at least from what I saw, my vantage point there, Evan, it is tough to be the leader on the last lap, and Minter made the move to the bottom. Kerwin made a block. It was just, in my opinion, slightly too late, and unfortunate for Malik Ray. Brings it home second, but his 5th career top 5.
It is still a great result for him. Casey Kerwin, notably over the radio right now, congratulating Tucker Minter on his race victory. And you're right, Casey knew it was coming. He already went down to the middle of the racetrack to try to block it, but there was nothing you could do. Tucker Minter held his ground, and he finds victory lane, not only in the season opener, but in his first career eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And what a way for the Team Dillon Esports driver out of Warrenton, Virginia. Tucker Minter has won at eNASCAR's top series level. So many drivers, Blake, compete for seasons and seasons and can't reach this top of the mountain, and he has done it. He becomes the 61st different winner in series history.
And has multiple championships down in the trucks and the Road to Pro Series. And by the way, I love seeing an unsponsored car win, but we got to get this man a sponsor. I mean, he just won Daytona, may have locked his way into the postseason. If you're Team Dillon out here, marketing team, get after it. Got to get some logos on this 33 car.
Look at all the TV time you're missing out on if you're a potential sponsor. Let's see what Tucker Minter comes back to the racetrack with in 2 weeks' time. And let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race. You can see the Front Row Motorsports Fords. They tried to make the move on the bottom. They couldn't do it. And then it came down to when, not if, but when the move was going to happen. The 95, you'll see as they come off of Ford Blake, he'll actually go halfway down the racetrack to try to anticipate it, but Minter gets under him too quick.
Yes, he does, and right there you can see him get under. He goes down to the yellow line, which, by the way, is not out of bounds here in eNASCAR, but Minter is down there. It gets Kerwin barely out of shape, and I hate it for the race leader because that's nearly an impossible situation to be in. As wide as you want to make your race car, you just can't block every move, and Kerwin tried his best, brought it home 4th. But unfortunately is not going to go back-to-back in terms of wins to both bookend last season and start this one.
He still has, of course, the race victory from 2 weeks ago in the Clash. And listen, it's a good points night. Not bad, right? Win a championship, win the Clash, second in the season opener. But the story tonight is about the rookie Tucker Minter, race winner at Daytona. Blake, you're with him.
Yes, we are. And Tucker Minter, you become just the 3rd driver in series history to win in your debut. What's going through your mind right now?
Man, it's unbelievable. You know, I've been thinking about this race, all off season, but for the last 3 nights, it's taken me like an hour and a half to fall asleep because I've been thinking about what I'm going to do coming to the line. How am I going to get myself in the right position? What's it going to take to be there? And there were so many times this race where we just kept ourselves in a good position. Everybody I was working with, it was just incredible. We had the track position, led so many laps, And then with those green white checkers, I was getting really scared. Fuel was really tight. If we had another caution, I don't think I would have made it. But when I cleared to the top and I was in line with Casey, I knew like I was in the spot, and I just had to execute on it.
Well, you were able to do it, but the great thing is here, Tucker, I talked to you at the championship race in Charlotte last year. The fact that now, already starting this year, you are in a great position to try and get on that stage already. What does that mean to you? And we're not even through February yet. Man, it's so awesome. I tried to keep my expectations real low coming into the year. The Coke Series, I said in a few interviews, like, rookies generally don't win Coke Series races. It takes a year or two to get there. And so I was saying, I'd like to win, or I'd like to get a few top fives and avoid relegation. And then now to have myself in a primed position to lock into the playoffs already, it's huge. Well, Tucker, congratulations, and I'm sure we'll be watching your progress here. And hopefully, again, we get a sponsor on that 33 car for Team Dillon. Tucker, congratulations. Yeah, that's right. Thanks to Team Dillon so much for, signing me on. They took a chance on Jordy and I as rookies, and hopefully with this performance, somebody's going to want to hop on board. So if you want to hop on board, message Team Dillon, on Instagram, I think. So, yeah, just super excited. Thanks, everybody. Tucker Minter is a winner in his eNASCAR debut, and it was so close for Malik Ray, who we know is one of the best super speedway racers on the service, and Malik just coming up short, but nevertheless a second to start this 2023 campaign.
Yeah, I gotta thank Michael Guest for all his help getting up there. If it wasn't for him and Donovan Strauss, I wouldn't have made it as far as I did. So I'm just very happy that I had some good friends that were by me the whole entire race. So I appreciate that a lot.
Kind of going through those last couple of corners, though, kind of anything different that you could have played out in your mind, or maybe something that you could have done differently?
Yeah, I was not aware at all how big of the gap that there was between fourth and fifth. I thought that everyone was just lined up top, so I feel pretty dumb after that, considering I could have just backed up and tried to get a run, and instead I just sat there and watched the guys in first and second, try and go for the win.
Well, nevertheless, a great debut for you and Jim Beaver Esports. You start with a second place, and we'll see if we can carry that through to the playoffs. Congratulations on your second place run tonight, Malik.
All right, thank you.
Malik Ray brings it home in second, and the other driver who won in his eNASCAR debut is here with us. And Derek, you had just an up and down night, and somehow here at the end of it all, you're sitting on the bottom step of the podium.
Yep, somehow. You said it best. Up and down all night. It was a hell of a race. First off, I'd like to thank ESC, SimSeats, Dead Zone, and Houston, and especially Dustin and everyone on the set. And Garrison Ogan, my spotter, did a hell of a job. That might have been the best spotting I've ever heard in my life. But, yep, up and down, like you said, and I don't know, got lucky on some restarts. Pretty much kept our foot in it on the top and prayed and got through everything and finished up P3 somehow. We'll take that. Great start.
Well, 2 weeks from now, we move from Daytona to unfamiliar territory for this series in the Milwaukee Mile. Any initial impressions of trying to approach that racetrack for the first time in eNASCAR competition?
I've run some laps. I'm a fan of Milwaukee. It's kind of, I don't know, my kind of short track style, so to say. I don't know how it's going to pan out with this car, but we're going to put in the maximum effort and try to keep up this top 5 streak going and hopefully get a win or a very solid finish. I'm feeling pretty confident about Milwaukee.
That is Derek Bordeaux, who brings it home in third in his first race with Elliott Sadler Esports. Evan.
A lot of success amongst the firsts here tonight as we take a look at your Coca-Cola full race results. Tucker Minter's final margin of victory, 0.085 seconds over Malik Ray. Derek Bordeaux, Casey Kerwin, and Michael Cozy Jr. inside of the top 5. You continue on down. Where are the notable drivers from how this thing shook out? You had laps led for Duval. You had laps led for Keister. They end up in the teens. Bobby Zelensky so dominant, Blake, he ends up 23rd in this one.
Yeah, that's a tough run there for Bobby Zielinski and a couple of others who were up front and shaking things up. Caden Honeycutt was awfully strong up front tonight, but, that's Daytona. That's just somehow how it goes.
And we talk about all of the changes and exciting things. How about a first-time venue? For the first time in series history, we will go racing at the Milwaukee Mile. That's coming up in 2 weeks' time on February the 28th. Blake, what kind of challenges will these drivers face there?
The Milwaukee Mile, it's so difficult to try to determine where you want to enter the corner, how you want to take the middle of it, because you can diamond, you can really wrap around the bottom. And interested to see the approach that these drivers take, many of whom have to buy the track on iRacing. So many of them, this is a track that not a lot of them have a ton of experience at, but I think that's going to make for a great show here in 2 weeks' time.
The Cup Series has never been there, so it's going to be the first time a Cup Series car in a NASCAR-sanctioned race will be racing at the Milwaukee Mile. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from the Virtual World Center of Racing as 2023 is officially kicked off. So on behalf of our entire team at iRacing, at NASCAR, and everybody else behind the scenes, Coca-Cola, and all of our partners, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate race winner Tucker Minter. For Blake McCandless, I'm Evan Pasoko on behalf of our entire broadcast team. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time. That race coming up from the virtual Milwaukee Mile. Until then, good night from Daytona. Tucker Minter is a race winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.